What if Kevin Nash's comments towards LA Knight influences Triple H to cool off on LA Knight? The things that Kevin Nash is saying about LA Knight, and you guys already know that Triple H and Kevin Nash are close like brothers. They were in the clique together. So if there's anyone's word that or vote of confidence that Triple H is going to value the most, it's going to be Kevin Nash's. I bet you if Kevin Nash was interested and invested in being in the creative team, being part of the creative process of Raw and SmackDown, I guarantee you Triple H is going to run with what Kevin Nash will bring to him in terms of creativity, in terms of storylines and feuds and whatnot. He's going to definitely value what Kevin Nash has to bring to the table. Why? Because they're best friends. They're close. I want to get into, what Kevin Nash has been saying about LA Knight. Now, he's been ripping LA Knight for the past week. Not just once, but twice. The first time I thought, okay, yeah, he's a rip-off Rock, blah, blah, blah. We kind of see it. We kind of picked up on it, but I wouldn't even go as far to say he's a rip-off Rock. I would say he reminds you a little bit of The Rock in terms of The Rock's of his cadence, of his mannerisms, and that's about it. But at this point, it's becoming a little bit ridiculous because now he's, talking about LA Knight again. I'm just going to flat out say it. I think Kevin Nash is at this point hating on LA Knight. He drinking that haterade. I mean, okay, we get it. You ripped him once. You told him, you said that he's a rip-off Rock. No originality. Okay, we get it. But at this point, it's like, okay, what's the meaning of you ripping on LA Knight? As if half the roster doesn't lack originality. I mean, even your favorite stars of the past were influenced by someone before them. They, at some point, ripped off or copied off somebody else's own shtick, right? I mean, how many wrestlers today are trying to mimic Chris Jericho? How many? How many wrestlers do you think are trying to copycat off of Shawn Michaels? How many wrestlers have tried to be a second coming of Stone Cold Steve Austin? How many? I mean, if we're gonna say LA Knight is a rip-off Rock, then we can go ahead and say that Seth Rollins is a rip-off Shawn Michaels. At this point, I mean, a little bit like Shawn Michaels in terms of how he carries himself, flamboyant, the outrageous outfits and all that, right? We can say that Seth Rollins is taken after Shawn Michaels in the 90s a little bit, right? Your favorite stars of the past were taken after wrestlers before them. Ric Flair was influenced by Buddy Rogers. Hulk Hogan, took after a little bit of Billy Graham, right? I mean, how much you want to bet that Big Show definitely takes after Andre the Giant? I mean, Big Show definitely was influenced by Andre the Giant. I mean, you could say back in the late 90s, early 2000s, that Big Show is a ripoff Andre the Giant. I mean, why not? We could say that Kalisto at some point was a ripoff Rey Mysterio. A Rey Mysterio 2.0. A lot of wrestlers, guys, today, they mimic past wrestlers, whether it's their moveset, whether it's their characters, whether it's how they talk, whether it's how they carry themselves. Wrestlers today lack originality. Now, I'm not saying every wrestler today lacks originality. There are original wrestlers that are original, right? But some of the wrestlers today are definitely mimicking off the past wrestlers, influenced, if you will, by past wrestlers. I guess you can say LA Knight is no different, but at this point, LA Knight, he's not coming out doing the rock bottom. That's what Montez Ford is doing. Montez Ford is doing the rock bottom. Becky Lynch is doing the rock bottom. LA Knight has his own moveset. LA Knight, in my opinion, has his own swag, has his own cadence, his own catchphrase. Yes, when you look at LA Knight, you definitely see a striking resemblance in The Rock. You do. But that does not mean that he's a rip-off Rock. He's ripping off Dwayne Johnson's shtick. That does not mean that at all. But I'm not going to sit here and argue that LA Knight, I'm not going to say that he's original, because not every wrestler is original. Let's be honest. Not every wrestler is original. Most of the wrestlers today are taken up after somebody else. They are a resemblance of a past wrestler. I mean, it's kind of commonplace at this point. But to say he's a rip-off Rock, that's a stretch. That's a stretch. Now, we're going to get into what he said on his podcast, Click This. He said, "Am I the only one that sees like an absolute ripoff of The Rock, to the point when he cut the promo on effing Logan Paul, or whatever the effing his name is, the only thing he didn't do is turn the mother effer sideways. Jesus Christ, does everybody have amnesia? There's nothing original." I mean, we can say in his generation there was really nothing that original at all. You know what I'm saying? I mean, like I said before, not every wrestler is original. Most of the wrestlers lack originality. You know what I'm saying? But I just think it's a stretch to say he's a ripoff The Rock. So I think days later, he criticizes him again by saying, why didn't he get over anywhere else? And, I don't know if he heard of this thing called TNA or Impact Wrestling. I mean, that's where he used to work. He used to work in Impact Wrestling. Kevin Nash was in TNA. So he definitely got over in TNA. Back then he wasn't LA Knight, he was Eli Drake. If you watch TNA around that time where Eli Drake was on the roster, he was definitely over. Definitely over. But in my opinion, LA Knight, is probably the most charismatic, the most pure charismatic wrestler in today's WWE, right? In terms of the WWE landscape, he's the most charismatic. Naturally, he has natural charisma. He knows how to, talk first and foremost. He knows how to deliver lines with enthusiasm and gravitas and conviction. That's what really makes a great promo, is when you believe what you're saying. And when I listen to LA Knight, the one thing that really sells me on him is that he believes what he is saying. He believes what he is saying. And every wrestler that cuts a promo, they should always believe what they're saying. Because really, you're selling yourself to the audience that you are a big deal, that you are a threat, that you are this, you are that, and you live by this. Like, you got to get the fans thinking you are that dude, thinking you are him. And LA Knight can make you believe that you are him, that you are that guy, that he is that guy. So I feel like at this point, at first Kevin Nash was just stating his opinion. It's still his opinion. He's entitled to his opinion. But him ripping him again, I feel like is just meaningless. And for him to kind of say, well, why didn't he get over anywhere else? Once again, TNA. And he was in NXT back in 2012, 2013, and he got cut. LA Knight has been trying to make it for years now. In the mainstream of wrestling on Raw and SmackDown, and I believe Kevin Nash said that he's been in the business for 10 years. And he said that if you're not over in 3 years, it's just not probably going to happen. I mean, I can agree with that. But at the same time, if we're talking strictly mainstream wrestling, which is the WWE, I mean, if we're not going to count TNA, but he got over in TNA, but we're counting just WWE. How long has LA Knight been on the main roster? Over a year, right? Over a year. He debuted with the Maximum Male Models, I believe last June or July. That flopped, rightfully so. And then he resorted back to the LA Knight character that got over in NXT. That's another thing. He got over in NXT. So, you know, if my math is correct, I believe that LA Knight has been on the main roster for 1 year. And look at the reactions he's getting right now. I believe he's over. I believe LA Knight is over. I mean, he's selling crazy merch. I believe that he is tied with Rollins and Cody and Stone Cold in terms of merchandise sales. I think he's number 4, number 3. That's pretty impressive. For someone that is not utilized in the main event scene, someone that is underutilized. That's pretty damn impressive. If you look at LA Knight's career thus far on Raw and SmackDown, he has not had an impressive run. I mean, that match with Bray Wyatt flopped. He hasn't won any titles. He hasn't really had any meaningful feuds at all. In fact, he's lost a lot more than he has won. He hasn't had a lot of great matches, not a whole lot of success on the main roster. But he's over. The fans respond to him. The fans react to him. He gets the biggest pops of the entire night. For the past 2 months, that's been the case. But remember what Kevin Nash said. He said that if it takes 3 or 4 years for someone to get over, it's probably not going to happen. But if we're talking a mainstream audience, which really that's the litmus test to see if you're really that guy. Like you can get over in NXT, TNA, which is smaller audiences, right? A smaller crowd, but the WWE landscape, that's when it really matters. That's when we're going to see if you're really that guy. If on that stage, we're going to see if you are really him, right? Okay, you got over in NXT, you got over in TNA, but can you get over on the big stage? Can you get over on the big stage? So by that logic and by that math that I just did, 1 year, Kevin Nash says 3 years. Well, LA Knight for 1 year, he's already over. Is he not? I repeat, LA Knight within 1 year in the WWE landscape, mainstream wrestling, he is already over. Is he not? So Kevin Nash is wrong in that regard. And when he made that comment, he was referring to LA Knight. Now, I know he said in the business, but honestly, what they say in the WWE, if you didn't get over, if you got over anywhere else and you're here in the mainstream, well, it doesn't matter, because if you can't get over on the big stage, on the mainstream, where it really matters, where the largest wrestling market is at, the largest crowds are going to be at, if you can't get over here, you're just not it. You just don't have it. It's simple as that. You can get over in front of 30 people, in front of 600 people. But if you can't get over in front of hundreds, thousands, and millions of people on a weekly basis, you're just not it. It's simple as that. So by that math and that logic, LA Knight is over. He's already made it. It took him 1 year to get over. We're going to disregard his win-loss record. Hasn't won any titles, right? Despite not winning any titles, despite not winning any feuds, not being part of any meaningful feuds, not having 5-star matches. He got over in 1 year on the main roster. He got over on mainstream television in 1 year. 1 year it took for LA Knight to get over. 100,000s of people, millions of people, weekly basis. Tell me when I'm telling lies, like CM Punk said. Tell me when I'm telling lies. So, like I said, Kevin Nash is wrong. He's off here. He's definitely off. And I posed a question. Is Kevin Nash hating on LA Knight at this point? Based off the second ripoff, the second part of him ripping on LA Knight, yeah, I do. I believe that, But at the end of the day, all respect to Kevin Nash. He's still a legend, He was able to get over in a short amount of time. So anything he says, it's going to be valued. It's going to be taken seriously. But he's still off in terms of, being a ripoff Rock. That's a stretch to me. But the comment where he said, where wrestlers, lack originality, where's the originality and stuff? I agree with that. There's a lot of wrestlers that lack originality. That's true. But we're not going to sit here and say that LA Knight is not over. Although he's been in the business for 10 years, it took him 10 years to make it on the big stage. Now that he's on the big stage, within that time span of 1 year, he was able to get over with the crowd. So I think Kevin Nash needs to, chill out and, talk about something else, I mean, we get it. Certain wrestlers are ripping off other wrestlers and, lack originality. Like, okay, we get it. But it's kind of funny how he's now talking like this about LA Knight when LA Knight is now just getting over. I just find it kind of funny. Like, are you hating? Are you hating or not? You know what I'm saying? Like, are you drinking that haterade or not? Because I feel like at this point, Nash is drinking that haterade, man. And apparently Booker T and Jeff Jarrett came to his defense. And I bet a lot of people, a lot of legends, believe LA Knight is that guy. Now, of course, you see a little bit of resemblance of The Rock. I mean, who doesn't, right? I mean, that's kind of obvious. We kind of knew that already. It's not new information. Like, duh, But it's not like LA Knight is coming out saying boots to asses or saying, I'm going to whoop your candy ass, or, it's not like he's doing a whole rock shtick. No, he has his own catchphrase. He has his own mannerisms. He has his own, he has his own flair, his own swag, But that's just my opinion and my insight on the whole, situation. And, he's entitled to his opinion, but I think it's just a bit much to keep ripping on him and stuff, What do you guys think in the comment section? Do you think Kevin Nash is hating on LA Knight? Leave your comments down below. Let me know what you think. Like for the algorithm, and this is the Rational Wrestling Mark, also known as the Rational Wrestling Viewer, and I'm out. Peace.